The night the sky tore open, no one in the quiet town of Erenvale truly understood what they were witnessing. To most, it looked like a meteor, an enormous sphere of burning white light streaking across the heavens with a scream that felt more like a deep vibration in the bones than a sound in the ears. But 16-year-old Lian felt something else, something pulling at the very center of her chest, tugging like a thread that had been tied to her heart long before she'd taken her first breath. She stood barefoot on the rooftop of her family home, the cold wind whipping her hair as the brilliant sphere cut its way downward, heading directly toward the ancient forest beyond the cliffs, a place no one dared to go after sundown. Legends whispered of guardians and curses, of old stones with memories and trees that watched, and while most people laughed nervously and called them stories for children, Lian had always sensed there was truth buried beneath the tales. As the light neared the horizon, the force pulling at her chest tightened so sharply she gasped, dropping to one knee as her breath caught in her throat. The bright sphere struck the earth with a thunderous roar, illuminating the forest like a second sun before fading into an eerie silence that seemed to swallow the entire world. For a moment, everything stopped, no wind, no distant dogs barking, not even the hum of electricity. And then, soft as a whisper, Lian heard it. Her name, not spoken aloud by any human voice, but echoing inside her mind like a memory she'd forgotten she owned. Lian. It was warm and cold at the same time, comforting yet urgent. She stumbled back to her feet, hands trembling, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and something strangely close to longing. The sky above returned to normal, the stars glimmering innocently as if nothing extraordinary had happened at all, but Lian knew better. She felt it in her blood. She knew the world had changed. And she knew that whatever had fallen from the sky, had come for her. Sleep was impossible after that, and she spent the night sitting by her window, watching the silhouette of the forest in the distance. Every so often, a faint glimmer of silver light flickered between the trees, like something breathing in the dark. Her mind spun with possibilities, an artifact, a creature, or something older than all the myths combined. By the time dawn finally broke, soft gold spilling over the rooftops, Lian had made her decision long before the sun ever rose. She was going to the crash site. She didn't know what she expected to find, but the pull in her chest had not weakened. If anything, it felt stronger, urging her, guiding her. And though she feared what she might discover, a deeper fear gnawed at her, a fear of not knowing. She packed lightly, slipping food, a flashlight, and her grandfather's old compass into a small leather bag. Her grandfather had always spoken of destiny like it was something you could step into if you were brave enough, and though Lian had laughed at his stories when she was younger, now those words felt like they were meant for this moment. She whispered goodbye to her still sleeping family and stepped into the cool morning air, heading toward the forest path. Birds chirped above, blissfully unaware of the night's terrifying spectacle, yet the deeper Lian walked into the woods, the more wrong everything felt. The trees leaned in closer than she remembered, their branches arching overhead like ribbed bones forming a tunnel. Even the air felt heavier, charged with a strange energy that prickled against her skin. And then she noticed something odd. The animals were completely silent. No rustling, no snapping of twigs, no distant calls. It was as though the entire forest was holding its breath. Lian moved cautiously, her steps quiet against the moss-covered ground. She relied on instincts more than the compass now, because whatever force had pulled her during the night still tugged faintly in the same direction. After nearly an hour of walking, the faint smell of smoke reached her nose, burned earth, hot metal, and something she couldn't identify, something ancient. She pressed forward until she finally saw it, a massive crater carved deep into the ground, steam rising from its edges in twisting white ribbons. Chunks of glowing debris were scattered like fallen stars, each humming with a soft otherworldly vibration. But the center of the crater held something stranger still. A crystal sphere, larger than a human head, hovered about a foot above the scorched earth. It pulsed with gentle light, almost like it was breathing. Bands of silver runes flowed across its surface in an endless loop, shifting and rearranging themselves as if thinking. Lian's breath caught. She had never seen anything like it, not in books, not in stories, not even in her wildest imagination. But the moment her eyes locked onto the sphere, the pull in her chest snapped taut like a rope, nearly dragging her forward. She stumbled down the slope of the crater, sliding until she landed just a few feet away from the object. The runes on its surface brightened instantly, reacting to her presence. And then the voice returned, clearer this time. "You have arrived at last." Lian froze. Her legs trembled as the words echoed through her mind, and for a moment she wondered if she should turn and run. But something deeper kept her rooted, something that felt like truth. She swallowed hard and whispered aloud, "What are you?" The sphere responded not with words but with emotion, warmth, relief, and an overwhelming sense of recognition. Then, slowly, almost cautiously, it lowered until it floated inches from the ground, the runes dimming to a soft glow. Lian reached out with a shaking hand, hesitation flickering across her face. She sensed that touching it might change everything. But the voice came again, softer than before. The world returned to Lian in fragments, sound, color, sensation, each one sharp enough to feel like a blade slicing through the fog that clouded her mind. The first thing she became aware of was the wind, colder than she remembered, brushing across her skin like the touch of unseen hands. Then came the smell of earth, damp and old, mixed with the faint metallic tang of something not of this world. Slowly, her vision steadied, and she realized she was no longer standing in the crater. She stood in a vast expanse of stone, illuminated by a haunting silver glow that seemed to radiate from the very walls. The air hummed gently, vibrating like a distant chord being plucked by invisible fingers. Confusion crashed into her like a wave. She spun in place, clutching her arms around herself, her heart hammering wildly. The forest was gone, the sky was gone, the crater, the trees, everything familiar, gone. She was somewhere else, somewhere ancient and alive. At the center of the chamber, the crystal sphere floated again, its runes brighter than before. But now, instead of drifting aimlessly, it hovered perfectly still, its surface pulsing with slow, deliberate rhythm. "Where am I?" Lian whispered, but the trembling in her voice made the words barely audible. The sphere responded in her mind immediately, as if it had been waiting for her to speak. "You stand in the Sanctum of Echoes, the first chamber of the Celestial Archive. This place awakens only for its chosen keeper." The words were both comforting and terrifying. Lian tried to steady her breathing, grounding herself as she took a cautious step forward. With each movement she made, faint symbols on the stone floor lit up beneath her feet, recognizing her presence, responding like living things. A chill ran down her spine. "Why me?" she murmured. "What am I supposed to do here?" The sphere pulsed, and the chamber around her began to shift. The walls rippled like water touched by wind, transforming into towering mosaics of light and memory. She saw visions, vast celestial battles fought across the sky, worlds rising and falling, ancient beings woven from starlight shaping reality with their hands. And in every scene, there was a recurring symbol, a bright arc of light splitting into two paths, one radiant and one shadowed. Lian felt drawn to it, as if it were a part of her she'd forgotten. "You were chosen because you carry the spark of the arclight," the sphere explained, its voice steady and warm. "A legacy passed not through blood, but through destiny. The archive sensed it long before you were born." Lian shook her head, disbelief warring with awe. "I'm just a girl from Erenvale," she said out loud, her voice echoing in the silent chamber. "I don't have any powers. I'm not special." The mosaics shifted again, and this time she saw something else, herself, as a child, tracing strange patterns in the dirt while her grandfather watched with a knowing smile. A surge of emotion hit her. She remembered drawing those shapes without understanding why, feeling them in her bones. Had her grandfather known something all along? "Greatness rarely announces itself in childhood," the sphere whispered. "But your path has always been leading here." Lian took another breath, steadier this time. "What do you need from me?" she asked. The sphere's runes brightened. The chamber responded, mechanisms deep within the stone rumbling to life. The floor split into branching pathways, each leading deeper into the glowing labyrinth. "The archive is awakening," the sphere said. "And with it, forces long forgotten. You must learn, Lian. You must understand the true nature of the arclight before those who seek to destroy it find you." A shiver of fear curled through her. "Who are they?" she asked. The lights dimmed. The air grew heavier. And then she saw them, shadows forming on the chamber walls, silhouettes tall and twisted, their outlines rippling like smoke. Red eyes ignited within their shapes, staring at her with hunger and malice. "The Voidborn," the sphere answered, its tone darkening. "Ancient enemies of all creation, imprisoned beyond the veil. Tonight's celestial breach has weakened their prison. They will hunt for the keeper of the arclight. They will hunt for you." Lian's breath caught in her throat. Her pulse roared in her ears as a cold realization hit her. She was no longer just a girl chasing a mysterious star. She was now the target of beings older than time, beings that wanted nothing more than to extinguish the light that lived within her. She looked at the dark paths ahead and swallowed hard. So what do I do? She whispered. You walk forward, the sphere replied gently, and you become what you were meant to be. And with that, the chamber doors opened for her, revealing a long corridor of shifting starlight that waited like the beginning of an ancient prophecy finally waking from its slumber.